hoodie.
My summer. Honestly, dude, it was by the middle of the day I'll have my hoodie back on because the house will be so cold.
Yeah, I was just like, you look totally put together. I mean, I'm still like rolling the hat, kind of woke up an hour ago, t-shirt, all good. Oh man.
So put together. That's a fun.
You are put together. No, you look like you always do when I talk to you.
That shows how low the bar is for guys. You're put together means you basically have a clean t-shirt on and you shaved within the last few days.
It's the funniest thing. I'm going to be in Chicago next week for I think the 5th through the 7th, whatever, right? But I think it's hilarious because I'm like, oh man, I got some meetings, but they're just meetings I'm taking internally, right? I'm like, what am I gonna wear? And I'm like, literally, I could go with like one bag and a laptop for 3 days. Like, all I need is just change of shirts. I'm a dude.
Yeah, totally. You can wear one pair of jeans for 3 days, easy. Same shoes for 3 days, easy. I know, you just need a different shirt. It is true. Yeah, I went to the Google thing last week and I spoke and I was like trying to decide. I ended up bringing a suit and it was like the most complicated wardrobe situation I've had to deal with like in like a year. I was like digging. I'm like, what do I have that's not a golf shirt and jeans? I was like, I don't know. I haven't had to wear this in a long time.
You know what's funny? I saw you in the suit. I saw the picture. I think that you shared. I saw you in the suit. And I have this internal dialogue with myself. I'm like, are we going back to suits? Are we still and
what
then
do you think you're doing? What is he doing? Is he bringing us back?
And then I have the other piece where I'm like, am I smart enough not to wear a suit? Can I be that guy? I don't know.
I'm not smart enough. I was like, I need to up level something here. Yucky normally does the talking, so I'm gonna give myself the +1, So that was pretty funny. Yes. It occupied a lot more mind. It occupied a lot more mind share than I thought it would of like what I was trying to wear in front of 100 people, So anyway,
you're still rocking the tackle t-shirt underneath it. That's what I liked.
Right, totally. It's all good. All right, you're going to Chicago. We're going to Seattle for AWS Seller Summit next week. So
right,
a lot of folks. I thought you might be out there. I was like, maybe he's going out for that whole AWS event. I don't know, but
no, I'm not gonna make that one. Chicago is actually funny because Chicago
is it an event or just a work thing?
No, it's just a work thing. So my PDM is out there, and we're working on an SCA. So this is going to be a day of just like cranking through at least like the first stages of that. It's been sort of long. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited that Amin called me up and we're going to try and get together next week. So it's going to be.
Look at that. IRL. Yes.
IRL. We're going to make
the youngins say.
Right. I'm not going to Ireland. What are you talking about? I'm going to Chicago. Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yes.
Well, good. So speaking of SCA, yeah, that's sort of like topic that Amin and I talked about yesterday, because I know you're going through it. Everybody seems to be talking about it. They're not easy to do, but they kind of set up like a really good framework. But I don't know. Once we get into it, I think that would be an interesting thing to talk about, simply because we just heard it, Google Next.
Have you not even started, Amin? Like you don't even have it submitted yet. You don't have it submitted. You don't have like a designated negotiator or anything.
No, actually we do have a designated negotiator, but we haven't submitted it yet. So next week we've talked about it, and we've talked.
Okay, so but at least you're in queue because you've got somebody assigned to it. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Now it's trying to figure out like all those different. I think what we got so far, and this is what I'm trying to figure out this week, is that a walkthrough of all the different buckets of dollars. And
so my understanding is there's 3 types. There's a scale SCA, which can be done in like 30 days that only has 3 buckets of funding. Then there's a custom SCA, which takes like 6 months, that literally has unlimited amounts of anything. And then there is a AI specific SCA that, as long as you're leveraging Bedrock and doing some of those things, you can get through pretty quick in like 30 days too. And you can double stack AI plus the regular ones.
Yeah, we're in the middle. We're in the middle.
How what everybody kind of gets? Oh, okay. So what do you mean in the middle? You're kind of sort of negotiating?
So we're negotiating, but it's not a scale SCA. So it kind of we're in that mode, but it's not a scale SCA. It's still going to be the SCA over the course of like three years is what we're going for. But we're
Yeah, I think it's minimum 3 years, maximum 5. I think it's like there has to be 3 to 5 years.
It's interesting. I think AWS is going through a ton of changes because what I heard, and just from the conversation I had, was that you could do an SCA like within like for like a year or 2 years, which is a complete waste and it's strangely aggressive and bizarre.
Wow, that is weird. I hadn't heard that. Wow, interesting.
But I don't even know, even if. But here's the thing: like I was talking to my PM about it, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, if I don't know what you would be able to truly accomplish with an SCA that sat for a year or 2 years, because it's going to take you, easy.
It takes you a half a year to get one. If you only had a 1 year SCA, you're like barely out of the box. Like when is the yeah. I don't know.
You got ramp. You got all the ramp time too.
They're multi though, aren't they? I mean, they 1 year SCA wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Well, that's what Amin's saying. But he's saying that they have we were told or like guided in that it was like minimum 3, maximum 5, and we were like 3 years is about right because we're a startup and a lot of shit happens in 3 years, right? So see where we would be at the end of 3 years, but I do think there's a big push, at least from what I hear. Like the PDMs actually have numbers. Like Garmin actually wants SCAs, which is why they made them easier. Like they've actually put goals on these PDMs for SCA. So it's a very common process everybody's trying to motor through.
It's not unique. I mean, the SCA as a term is unique to AWS, to my knowledge, but it's the concept of commits is not unique. I was talking to someone one of our friends over at Microsoft who said, there's one of their partners that actually is helping uncover and almost pitching commit agreements as part of their co-sell motion with Microsoft. And so
the commit agreement is different though, right? I think, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but like commit agreement aligns with SCA benefits. But
right.
Is Microsoft got a formal program to give you benefits based on your commit? Or Google? That's why I don't think they do. Everybody has commits, but they don't have a formal program. I'm sure bigger companies do have that, but it's not. There's not like a formal program you can go run at Microsoft and say, "Oh, I'm going to commit to XYZ for 3 years. In return, you're going to have a framework that I can get XYZ benefits back."
Right. I was just focusing on the commit side, I guess, because the field actually loves that. If you can bring them a customer that's going to sign up a net new commit, kind of following on the PDM comment, the PDM comment.
Yes. I would say as a different conversation. Yeah. Consumption is everything, right? Consumption. So commit to consumption. But like if I was a company looking to spend money, I'd be much more inclined to commit to spending dollars when I have a framework to get something back.
If you get something clear in return. Yeah.
Yeah. It was that runway piece too. It's like, I mean, I think most organizations I would surmise have entered into like that commit, that EDP, PPA type stuff, right? Without having any type of like SCA, but on the path to attaining an SCA.
Yeah, agreed. And I think they've lowered it. 3-4 years ago, it was like $1 million was the minimum a year, which is a lot, right? I mean, that means you're burning, $50,000 a month or more, right? And now I think it's like half that. From what I hear, it's like $300K to $400K is the minimum month or yearly burn to get a commit and get a little benefit back.
It's interesting because I think there's so many levers in that, right? So if you have a commit, right, it speaks to, all right, so your business has to be growing. It has to be growing in.
Yeah, you got to be assuming you're going to spend more in the out years.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is that it influences a lot of stuff. It influences your product decisions because now you can't. It's pretty nasty in the sense it's ruthless because now you can't split brain this and be like, I'm going to put some of my infrastructure or build some of my product on AWS or Microsoft or GCP. It puts you into a box, especially if you're a smaller ISV, right? Like you only have the resources to choose one, so it locks you in there. And I think it's kind of cool in the sense, well, cool, whatever, depending on your point of view, of they've locked you in and they still haven't given you an SCA. So if you do the commit first and you still haven't done the SCA, it's kind of like free money for like less in a sense.
But what we're finding, so you can do that, and that's what we've done, because we are just wrapping our first 3-year commit. So we weren't big enough to get a commit until 3 years ago. 2022, we signed up for our first 3 years. It expires in November. So we've run through it all. We've actually burned through a little bit more than we are. So we're in this like prime renegotiation spot, which is why we're aligning for an SCA right now. And we're probably about where you are. We have a designated negotiator. We've submitted the original business plan. We're kind of like working through ROI numbers to back up what we are asking for. But we were told it's almost impossible, for a normal sized company to get an SCA without recommitting on your commit. Meaning like you can't just say, oh, I signed up for my SCA, or I don't want to sign up for my commit, but I want an SCA. Like you have to be negotiating both of them at the same time.
Wait, doesn't the commit get folded into the SCA?
Is that folded in? Well, it has to happen because that's the ROI, right? We're going to give you $1 million a year, but you're going to spend $3 million a year. And so what is the ROI in the $1 million we're giving you against the commit, right?
Right.
And
right.
That's what I'm saying. I think the biggest of the big companies can negotiate SCAs outside of that, but not very easily.
But why? It's like, I guess if you're in that space, I guess why would you not want a commit?
Well, the problem is, what if you're 18 months through 3 years, and now you realize Garmin's pushing SCAs, your PDM wants to get SCA, and you're like, well, crap, we're nowhere near finishing our commit. So you end up having to do an early renewal and sign up again, and that creates like budgetary stuff. You got to give the CFO, but I want to sign up for 3 more years and I want to grow it. So that's where I'm seeing there be friction. Yeah. If somebody's in the middle of their commit.
That makes sense to me. I think the whole thing is super interesting. I think it goes back to something that we talked about way earlier, where none of this stuff lives on an island. Like it's none. There's no vacuum here. Everything is completely fundamentally interconnected, and I think it comes back to
totally. And none of it is written down really much. right. So it's all custom negotiated. There is no like Carvana for SCAs, right? It's like you're still going into the dealership and buying your car, negotiating every little bit every time. It's like, where's the one button SCA?
It almost seems like you're going into the factory and saying, I want that component there. I want this one.
Right.
I don't need that, because they're so bespoke.
It's like Masons, where it's like, I think so-and-so.
I think there's something called an SCA. How do I get there?
What do I do? Do I know someone? Like, I know someone who knows someone who did something.
Right.
You through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is tricky though. I think the problem I see most companies run into is on you can get more and more money if you have reasonable financials to back up your ROI. And the quantitative bits of ROI are key. But in order for that to happen, especially in the SaaS world, and even trickier now in the AI world, is you have to be able to say, when somebody buys $100,000 of tackle over a 3-year period, it's going to drive X amount of consumption.
Yeah.
And nobody does a good job of that at all anywhere.
It's a guesstimation. It's like it's not only how much AWS you're going to drive, but it's also the specific services for every dollar.
Yeah, even more the services, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you just hit on a point that is so lost, I think, in conversations with the clouds and with ISVs, and that's tying an original transaction up to consumption. And so last week it came up. So I mean, there was a section. What's that?
At Google?
At Google, yeah, just tying the commit to consumption. So we're talking about the benefit. There was a session. It was a panel in the afternoon, or it was a roundtable in the afternoon. This one was David Winter and Pete Henderson, but they're basically covering, an effective co-sell strategy. And you have to have a better together story. And of course, everybody talks about, the consumption is a story. And an ISV, representing an ISV raises his hand in the Q&A. He's like, so it's not clear to me how I tie the sale of my product with the customer to the consumption in either a multi-tenant SaaS environment, or even when I'm pushing something into their environment. And Pete and Dave were like, yeah, we don't really know that answer. I think it's more of a partnership thing. And so I bring this up or pull the thread because it's everybody says you have to tie consumption. That is the name of the game in cloud go to market. Yet even the clouds in this conversation I've had with
everybody, the clouds are saying it.
Hard. Yeah.
Not the ISV. I think the problem is the clouds are barking at all of us ISVs to get that number, and we're all like,
but that's
like, you know, like it is what it is. You know, it's not
telemetry. Yeah, it's a little bit of dark science just to say like, okay, this is if I do this and I assume this, that, and the other, then you should have 8x, and that seems to be good enough. But that's a story I think people have to have is some basis of,
it's tricky though because who's it benefiting, right? Is like that deep calculation and monitoring of your system is benefiting like the cloud and more than it's benefiting the ISV. Yeah. And you get in that little where it's like, am I going to build all kinds of telemetry into my system just so I can report that back? Maybe if they're going to give me millions of dollars because of it, but that otherwise you take a swag and you're like, yeah, well, 200 customers is this, 300 customers is that, 400 customers was that, and then here's our spend. And
yeah,
you know,
knowing what you know now, right? Knowing what you know now. And, you know, of course, we're going to go all off and launch 30 other companies after these, right? Would you have built that telemetry in from the start?
Yeah, maybe. And that, you know, it begs the question of like, would you be even billing that way, right? You know, I mean, or would you bill based on tokens and other things? And you know what I mean? So that's a different way. I think that's going to screw this whole system up too, right? Where it all becomes a little more of a PLG kind of like AI poll based on tokens and stuff, you know. But even then, I guess you're right. A given token spends a given amount of dollars at some level, right?
Dollars in there's dollars in compute. I don't know.
That drives, yeah.
I don't know though. I mean, regardless of the models, PLG or SLG, I don't think that would necessarily matter per se, right?
You're right. It's not as much. It's just a different way of where I was going with it is if somebody buys $1 million of CrowdStrike and only implements but they bought $1 million, so you got paid up front $1 million, but they only implemented like a tenth of it, which happens all the time with SaaS products. So your consumption is going to be way off in reality from what you're claiming. Whereas if it's a PLG or an AI thing, it's like you're literally paying on the token as it's being used, right?
But yes, usage. You're paying on usage. It's the usage that drives it.
And then there's maybe a higher correlation on usage versus this huge prepay for a year, and who knows what's going to actually drive in the back end, right?
Which I don't think the clouds care per se. In that sense, they want to have the metric. It's a fun, time-consuming academic exercise, but if they were to go down the path of saying, hey, like this usage, this technical usage drives this consumption. There's really no way of figuring that out.
Are you seeing though more governance on the technical side with these listings across the marketplaces? Because I know Microsoft, it's been threatening for a year, but I think they're actually doing this where they are trying to couple together some consumption 12, 18 months after that listing was in marketplace. And if they can't tie a line, then they go back and they put them on technical review. They're like, okay, you must not be running here. So I do think the clouds do care because
I think they're all ratcheting down the you need to be totally built on my platform and only spending stuff on my platform. Yeah, that's ratcheting down hard, which is really tough, I think, because the cloud, like the world is gone to multi-cloud. Like everybody has at least a few. So the world is gone multi-cloud and the clouds realize that. And so they are putting the pressure, especially on marketplace and co-sell on you. Like you need to be not only 51% built. Now they're like, you need to be like 95% built. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's interesting because the clouds are very protective of their business. On the same token, it's like there's not anyone's ICP, I think for the most part, who's going to be on a single homogeneous cloud. I mean, if you look at anyone who's purchased like just a regular pick a business, but in any vertical like manufacturing or healthcare or what have you, right? You have niche clouds, sure, but I think the ICP that I'm seeing is that you have a ton of infrastructure on AWS. Great, awesome, fun, and then you have like you do your productivity suite, right? With Like that
And AI is being built separately too. You might go use Salesforce Agentforce and run that alongside your AWS stuff, right? Yeah. Hey, back to the SCA though. I think it is interesting. So I'm just curious, like so we have like 3 buckets we're generically negotiating, right? There's like build with, like you're going to give me money to build my stuff. Then there's also like giving money to my customers to offset the kind of like sell to, sell with. And then there's like marketing MDF funds. Those are the 3 buckets we're kind of seeing. Like I can give money to my customers. You're going to give me money to build my own stuff, or like credits to offset usage of services. And then you're going to give me MDF. Like these are the 3 buckets. And you're kind of like moving these little levers up and down. But are you seeing some fun other stuff? Like we're trying to poke at other things in there. Like, what if we committed to 3 summits and reInvent up front for 3 years, and you're going to give me a 25% discount on all of them? Or what is it, stuff like that.
I haven't seen that. I haven't gone down that angle. I'm still trying to figure out what sort of the immutable laws are and what the physics are in terms of what you can bend and what you can break and how you can apply it. And I think that way partly because those different buckets, they're all stackable, in a sense. So
Which buckets? The money buckets?
The money buckets, right? So the different
3 money buckets, yeah.
Yeah, they're all stackable. So if you were to do things like, like impop and deployment credits, and you were to do MDF or what have you, like you can stack all of that in a sense.
Yeah.
So when I look at things like for example, like AWS, like reInvent or something like that, I think the way that you use reInvent, the way we use reInvent is fundamentally different. Like us sponsoring reInvent doesn't do anything for us. Us attending reInvent, sure, absolutely. Summits are important to us, but I think we're more focused on, for example, like more of the regional summits, or like the team led or district led type stuff,
Yeah.
So
the things that still that you pay for.
Right. But I would look at it more like, I would look at still a chunk. I think there's let's say reInvent and reinforce, which are fundamentally different, and you can't apply you apply MDF fundamentally differently. There's everything else beyond that MDF can be applied to more in a more regulated way, right? So I kind of take those 2 major summits and put them to the side.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like what we're trying to do. So what we believe the hardest thing to get out of AWS is money, hard, cold cash, right? It's the hardest thing for them to give up. You need the best documentation around ROI and all that. So if we look at those 3 money buckets, we say, cool, here's 3 money buckets. To me, what's interesting is like, what can I negotiate that is not monetary, that is beneficial, right? What if it's like getting more PDM time? What if it's like, I have a PDM, I want to go to market PDM alongside my program PDM. Like I want to negotiate in a go-to-market PDM. Like these are money, but so I think like what we're doing is like trying to basically play with all the levers that require less fundamental monetary, like ROI based, because they're super beneficial. We all bitch about not having enough help, or even like that lever of 25%. We buy a ton of stuff on Marketplace because we're literally a marketplace company. So the 25% threshold is tough for us, right? What if we could get to a 50% threshold of our commit, right? We'd actually sign up for a bigger commit because we blow through at 25% like 3 months into the year, right? And we end up being less motivated to buy in Marketplace then, right? After that, what if you actually helped us get, it's really interesting, but we're on the edge of the scale SCA because they're like, well, those are things you're not really supposed to play with a whole lot.
I was going to say, so how receptive are they to that, and
they are, because so they're being kind of receptive. The customized SCA is customized buckets of money.
Yeah.
Right. Which is different. So we're not we're saying, okay, we'll accept your 3 buckets of money, but we want to negotiate a few other things that are non-monetary. So anyway, anybody that is listening through this stuff, it's like, there's always a little bit of a wiggle. So like we're playing with all this other stuff, which I think is fascinating to kind of like dream about. Like, what if I had this? What if I had that? What if I had that person?
So when you're I've got a clarifying question for you, Denker, and then a question back for Amin. But for you, when you say, getting money, that's the most challenging thing with any of the clouds. Where do credits fall? Does credits to burn down first party services, is that good as cold hard cash, or is that
up to a certain amount? It's only as good as your commit, right?
commit?
Like,
Yeah. How
if
much
we
you
spend
spend?
25 grand a month or something, or whatever, if you're going to give me 100,000, it just, yes, it'll eventually pile that back. But when we're talking larger dollar amounts, like, it has to overcommit. I don't want to have to force us burning services just to
Right.
like use the
Yeah.
credit.
If you know you're only going to do this, but they offer you this, there's little value. Okay. So the SCA, I think, is fascinating because it's come up in so many conversations and I've been on the periphery of them. But one thing that I'd be curious to know your thoughts, I mean, is like, how did this come up? Like, why, who's pushing it? Is AWS pushing it? Is Jont Cloud pushing it? And did you have a commit going into this first? Is that a precondition to an SCA? So yeah, how did this start?
I think for us, I think it's weird. I'd back up like a couple of different organizations ago. I think it's this thing that's like dangle, like, look, carrot, like, if you do really well, you can get SCA. Like, what do I like?
You did really well in class.
Yeah. So I think it started, I think for a lot of ISVs, and I don't think we're not in a unique position. It started there, but I think the thing is that for us and for me, it's been the SCA, the first SCA for an organization, I think, is the output of having a really strong co-sell. So like, forget the SCA. If you're doing everything right with respect to building your co-sell and building your co-marketing and doing the right things from a co-innovation standpoint, like, you have to get all of those things right and show consistent growth quarter over quarter, year over year for a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Once you do that and you get that wheel spinning, then you can have this conversation about an SCA, because ultimately the SCA is going to feed into accelerating movement or the go-to-market in all three of those boxes. So I think if you're an organization and you start chicken and egg and you start talking about the SCA first without having a high degree of proficiency and growth in those three areas, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're going to get it wrong. You're fixated on the wrong things, because even if you were to get the SCA,
yeah, and you actually don't have a medium to use the money they're going to give you. You're totally right. Like, you got to have a foundation where it's like, I need more MDF, I need more build with, and I need more, sell to credits, right? And like, if you don't actually need those things to propel your business, then like, why would you even go down the SCA route in the beginning? Yeah.
I think the other piece of it too, that I don't think anyone talks about enough, is that you need to be operationally proficient in order to take advantage of an SCA, but you need to be operationally proficient to excel in any one of those areas. Like, if you're not, you're going to drown. You're going to drown if you were to get the SCA and they're going to revoke that bad boy. Now, I never heard of them revoking it, but but now, because everything is, I think your PDMs and whatnot are so hyper focused on utilization that being able to reliably communicate and tune the use of your SCA, right? If you can't do that, then that becomes a significant problem for both.
So one, you need a track record. You can't go in cold and say, I'm building this brand new thing on AWS and I'm going to initiate an SCA to help accelerate all these activities I need to do across this, my organization.
You don't even know what you want to do yet. I mean, honestly, if you're new to co-selling, like, your sellers, you got to make sure that they can even just sell, right?
Yeah.
And they can grow that business, right? Across the different elements of your business.
So when you said utilization, is that utilization of the benefits available to an organization? Say, for instance, partner benefits that go too often unutilized. Okay, so you need to sign up the program. You need to make sure that you're leveraging the benefits that these hyperscalers, AWS.
You need to be advanced enough to, I think, or at least what I'm reading, saying, which is a good point. You've got to be advanced enough down the process to actually leverage all these programs. You've got to actually understand and be able to use MPOP and all these things. Like, if you're not actually at the point of doing that, why are you negotiating an SCA? Because all the SCA is doing is like pouring fuel on the programs that are already kind of there. You already have list and sell. You already have MPOP. You already have some of these programs, which give you like 10K here and 10K there. But if you want to take that to the next level, that's what the SCA does.
Yeah.
It pours money on the programs that already kind of exist, right? If you can't take advantage of the MDF, you already get a reasonable amount of MDF just by getting into ISVA and stuff. Like if you haven't even used the 100K or 25K or whatever you get, then what the hell do you need another 500K of MDF for? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not, if you're not sharing, I think one story I heard was like, if you're not sharing your ops in ACE, like,
You definitely don't need an SCA.
you don't need an SCA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what do you mean we need to share our ops? And
Right.
you know, if you can't do that, and that's just basic block and tackling, like
Yeah.
no, we're not audibling out of this play.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
It definitely comes down to like cloud go-to-market is a team sport. You know, it impacts virtually every aspect of the go-to-market system in an organization. So you need partner marketing or product marketing, someone in leveraging those partner benefits and entitlements. You know, you need rev ops, making sure there were, deal registration is maintained and kept current and ACE. I mean, and the sellers need to carry the right story. I mean, it is absolutely a team sport.
I think the MDF thing is actually super interesting too, because when you start thinking about MDF, right, I think organizations that have very seasoned marketing organizations, right, and they've been there and they're very operationally proficient, everyone wants a lot of budget, but I think that's an organization that is not necessarily resistant to additional budget, but is suspect of budget, because now they have to do something with it. And a quote that I heard, which I love, is marketers, they never starve, they drown. And so if you're not aligned with your marketing group, your marketing team, and you say, hey, I've got this SCA, I'm going to give you guys 100K of credits and cash every year for the next 3 years. And we're like, I don't think I want that, because I don't have the operational model to plug 100K into the marketing that we're doing. And then I have to I can't use that. What do I do?
And it's only 50%. So you already have to have 100K that's going into that to begin with to get the 100K back, right? So you've got to have 200K of stuff going in, right? And sometimes these budgets around, especially on the cloud side of things, you don't have the budget already set up for that, right? And then what you can count 50%. The other thing I would say though is tackle is we fall into this trap. Like there are things that we hear partners using MDF for that we never even thought of. And like, we're like, you can use MDF for that? And then it's like, oh yeah, a bunch of people submitted, it got approved. And I'm like, that's interesting. Okay. So I think we do get somewhat narrow focused of like, I'm just going to use MDF for this one little thing. And then people are using them for all kinds of programs and promotions and shit where it's like, oh yeah, that, so it may be a lot wider of a net than we think too.
But that's the thing too, what I was saying is like, it's all physics. Like they have this, like you can bend all these laws, you can't break them. We'll go to
right. Can't make them a new law, but you can bend the one that's there. Right?
Yeah. Like, oh, I didn't know I could submit it like that. If I submit it like this, then I get. Well, I didn't know that. No one told me this. Of course not. It's the
right. Of course not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're like at 30 minutes in on this, which I think is where we want to do. I think this is good, but I want to throw in a right turn just to bring it into something I'm going to be talking a lot more about socially, and that's on artificial intelligence. And so it is kind of interesting. I'm going to do a little show and tell, because I think if people are not using AI beyond just beyond their search bar, using it as the new Google, right? Then you're remiss. But this is a tool, Claude, by Anthropic. Anybody can, they all kind of do the same. But just before we were getting on this call, I said, okay, well, let's just do a little bit of research on the components of an SCA. So this is a prompt. So the first thing I'm saying is make sure you know how to write a prompt the right way. And there's a lot of different things out there. I'm going to publish a paper on that. This is not the best, but it's a good thing to be concise. Anyways, it goes through. These are what the tools are capable of doing. In fact, there's a relatively new feature, research, which goes into deeper detail. So basically, the only reason I bring this up is because within 9 seconds or a minute or so, 5 minutes, I guess. So it compiled, per my instructions, a 2-page summary, and then included a bunch of references to companies that have talked publicly about their SCA with AWS. So this is really, really powerful. And during the conversation that we just had, there's a question that came up about terms. We were talking about it. So I'm like, okay, while we were talking, what's the average term? And then it kind of says, okay, based on the 20 things. So I think you're all getting the point, at least you two are. And you can kind of
that
go back.
AI is smarter than us and can answer it in a matter of 6 seconds.
Yes, and like all the things. And
Why listen to Amin and Denker banter when you can have it all answered in 6 seconds?
Mileage will vary, and so you got to be careful with how you do this, but it's much more entertaining to listen to the three of us banter about things based on our experience.
It is good though to be able to pull up some of those examples, know, that are.
You need to find people who actually have been there and sort of crowdsource, the waves of their physics, how they bent the rules in certain ways. You need to kind of crowdsource that and get involved in the ecosystems. But also there's some pretty easy ways to do some powerful research that will just direct you or give you a little more perspective. So that's AI in a nutshell, and I think it's important to end on that.
You are keeping us moving, Jont. You are always pushing that AI envelope, which I love. You're always showing me new tricks, man.
Speaking of AI, this is the AI image. Amin caught it when we got on. It's coming to a coffee mug near you two. Amin, yours is coming next week.
Oh, I just now see it.
Yeah, and my other favorite one.
Yeah, I love it. Run GTM.
Vibe coding is a big term right now, but this is Vibe and AI. This is my.
So we all need to be able to. Okay, I love it.
Go to your local library. You two can be the king of swag, the king or queen of swag.
I always love the topic.
Any closing thoughts before I'm going to close the recording button?
All good, man. Yeah.
I just set up live streaming as a feature, so maybe we could consider that next time. So anybody listening to this who finds that might be interesting,
I'm not sure we could get a lot of 8 a.m. people to just live stream this bad boy, but
I think it'd be my mom, not at all my wife, and maybe a couple people. But yeah, all right. Anyways, let's stay on, but I pause the recording for right now until next time. Okay.
Awesome.
There we go.